sometimes we're given a bunch of information and we're asked whether something else is true, and that usually involves a proof. Let's take a look at some situations where we're given some information and we're asked if we can actually make a particular conclusion or not. Let's take a look at the first one. So we're given a bunch of stuff, we're given a conclusion, we want to know if we can really deduce that conclusion. So we're given this picture, and we're given a lot of stuff. Let's see what we're given. We're given that PQ is congruent to SR. So this side is congruent to that side. We're also given that PS is congruent to QR. So we're given that. We're told that PQ is perpendicular to QR. So this is a right angle. And finally, we're told that PR is perpendicular to QS. Wow. The question is, can we now conclude that this thing is a square? Well, this requires a little bit of thinking, but the answer is yes, it does. Let's just see why. Well, first of all, we see that the opposite sides of this quadrilateral are congruent. So this is congruent to that, this is congruent to that. So automatically we see that we are in a parallelogram situation. So that's pretty good. We also see that this angle is a right angle, which means that, in fact, all the angles are right angles. So that automatically tells us that this is a rectangular situation. So we're in a rectangular situation. That's looking good. And then we see that, in fact, these diagonals come together to form a right angle. Well, that means that it's a rhombus. And if you're a rhombus and you're a rectangle, well, that means that all the angles are 90 degrees and all the sides are equal, and therefore, you are a square. That's right, you're a square. All right, so that one actually worked out quite nicely. Let's take a look at the next one. So we're given similar figure, and we're told that PR forms a right angle, is perpendicular to QS. So this is right angle. That's what we're given. Can we conclude that this is a rhombus? Now, here's one way of thinking about it. Someone might say, hey, you know what? It looks like a square, and so since it's a square, then sure, it's a rhombus. But remember, you can't just take the figure at its own word. We have to be told that sides are equal and so forth. So all we know for sure is a quadrilateral, two diagonals, and they form perpendicular. They are perpendicular to each other. That's all we know. Is it possible this is a rhombus? Is it possible that every single side has the same length? It turns out no. And we can see this by redrawing the figure. Notice those are at right angles. And now, you can see that plainly that is a quadrilateral whose diagonals meet up and are, in fact, perpendicular to each other, and yet that kite-shaped object is certainly not a rhombus. So, in fact, this conclusion cannot be made. What additional information would we require? Well, we require, for example, there's a variety of things you can require. One thing to require is that two adjacent sides of the quadrilateral be equal. If we knew that, that would be enough. Or something about how the diagonals actually bisect each other. That would be enough. But we need some more information. There's a lot of information we could ask for, but we need one extra piece of information in order to actually make this conclusion. So there's an example where, in fact, we're given something and we're asked if a particular conclusion can be made, and the answer is no, we need something else.